Hi guys, my name is Aditya. I'm from Split Second Studio, and we're gonna maybe brought the slide here. It's a good laptop or something or tea. Yeah, we're gonna present a little bit about our experience doing the virtual production challenge that IMDA and Epic Games hosted last year. Basically, they selected 10 companies to do a short film in Unreal Engine, and this is one of them. So Youngbin and me, Youngbin and me are part of the core group over here. I run a studio that does short films as commercials, and Youngbin lives and breathes Unreal Engine. So basically, I came up with the concept and then I pawned everything off on him. So Unreal Engine, a sandbox for storytelling. So I actually come from, I wouldn't say gaming background, but I used to game a lot. I still game a lot, not used to. And gaming communities have been a breeding ground for filmmakers for a very long time. So I don't know if you guys used to play CS, any of the old Call of Duties, or even have any experience with Source Filmmaker, but a lot of gamers use these tools to express themselves in different ways. So games have always been a medium for developers or game designers to tell stories. But even the gamers themselves found games to be a new medium to tell stories themselves. So just next slide. These are some clips from filmmakers in that space. This one and the one on the top right is actually from a small commercial I made for our company that deals with gaming. It's not an Unreal Engine. These have all been captured in-game. So that one is, I think, the Call of Duty, and this one is CS. Of course, this is not totally in from CS. It's way too advanced to be CS, but it all started from within CS. So there is a community of filmmakers who started off in gaming, who've been doing a lot of great stuff within games. And then as game engines became more and more accessible, it opened the floodgates for people like me, gamers who used to make films, and also for a lot of other people who just wanted to do CG work. It became a lot more accessible through a game engine. So we put together a proposal and we heard about the program, the BP Challenge, and thankfully we got the green light to go ahead. So I'm going to go through what's essentially was our journey to make this 5-minute short film. All right, so why don't we just screen the short film first, 5-minute longs. So strap in, and then I'll go into some more detail. First time the film's been screened. We'll just see some of that and great. Alright, so let's dive into it. As a filmmaker, when you're doing a film, I will short them in the middle, but when you're doing any kind of creative project, there's a number of things that you want to have control over. So characters, atmosphere, world building, performance, the medium itself, and of course the story. And if a tool comes along, the first thing we do is evaluate if that tool lets us have fine control over all of these segments. And these are just some of my thoughts. If you go to the next slide. If you take a step back and look at what Unreal Engine provides, there's actually a lot under the hood, under one engine, that lets us have a lot of fine control. So for characters, metahuman animator, the ability to do mesh to metahuman, where you can photo scan your actors and actually get their faces in the engine. Atmosphere and world building has always been good in Unreal Engine games. High quality assets, putting stuff together, weather, dynamic skies, fog, all of this stuff. Performance, of course, metahuman animator and just the way that it plays with motion capture, which is what we use for this. And the medium is of course film, but you can stretch the medium in a way that you want to tell the story. And Unreal Engine provides us a way with cinecams, vcams, setting the camera lenses, lensing, grain, post-processing. There's a lot you could do within Unreal Engine to make the medium your own to tell the story. So just taking a step back, Unreal Engine actually has a lot of tools that make it worth a filmmaker's time to step into it, explore, and then tell the story. This is the trailer. We've already seen the film. These are some frames from the film. I'm gonna take one last look because we're out of the film now. And now maybe we'll do like a deep dive into like the different challenges we faced, and just what we went through while making this film, because all of this was done in 10 weeks with about like 3 to 4 people on the team. And initially this film was actually supposed to be an IC-VFX film to be filmed in LED volume. So you'll see why we changed that. But then the good thing about Unreal Engine is you can start developing in one, and what we realized is you can actually reuse a lot of things and just pivot to something else pretty easily, pretty effectively. Okay, so you always start with, no matter what kind of project it is, you always start with whiteboarding and concepts to just get everybody on your team on the same page. None of this uses Unreal Engine. This is all done with Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and the lot. And we even have over here like a layout of what we thought the bunker would be. But it's always useful to get everything on board, figure out what works, what doesn't, get everybody on the same page about the group, and get the kind of world you're building the story. Right? This is not even in the film, but this is something outside. Again, we went so far as to explore the whole world outside the film. Like you probably would never see this frame in the story that we told, but it was still useful for everybody to know what the backstory was and how things looked outside and how dire it was. Well, this is something we based the inside of the bunker, so the whole film is set within the bunker. And this was extremely useful to get the look and feel right, because I can only express so much with words. And when everybody saw this picture and the fog outside and how dimly lit it was and how messy it was, it gave a very clear picture to my Unreal Engine team to be able to build this out. So it's very important. I cannot stress enough how important it is to spend time in pre-production, no matter what kind of project it is. But the good thing with Unreal is once you actually have a very strong pre-production, you can actually move super fast. Okay, now we'll move into some of the more technical items. So I'm gonna hand it off to the person who probably did 80 to 90% of everything you saw on screen. He probably had much better insight.
Hi. So once Aditya had given us or given me the images from AI, we had to take a look at like what's possible within the time frame that we are given, which is around 10 weeks. Unfortunately, I'm not like a 3D modeler. I just had learned Unreal a few years back. So, and 3D modeling would take a lot of time to make it look right in the scene. So we just turned into assets. These are some of the assets that we have purchased. Altered Dynamic Sky, probably one of the more popular ones in Unreal Engine. SEL Office, which look really similar to the environment that we were trying to build. And of course, some buildings that you see outside are from Cargo as well. This is just a really like a bare look on, I think probably week 2 or 3 in terms of like how the world was building. So you can kind of see how it's really fascinating to see like how the original asset was transformed into an asset that we envisioned it to be. So let's skip all that stuff. But you can see that the corners are still there, and trying to match do some work to deliver the story that we want to. Next ones as well. So during the course of the project, there are also some technical things that we wanted to test out, mainly the chaos destruction system. And this is a very bare bone chaos destruction. And another thing is that what we wanted to test is the reversal, because that's like a huge component of the story. And we wanted to see if Unreal Engine was capable of handling such things. Otherwise, we will suffer if we figure out later at the end. But luckily, due to Chaos Caching system, which released in 5.2, I believe, we were able to just play back in real time, and we could see the results pretty well. And we tested that with some of the more complex geometries, where this is the pillar, and you can see this in the reversal scene where the pillar started to go back to its own place. Another thing, the buildings here. So we had a really good heavy emphasis on the chaos system because that's like a core story, because it's a apocalyptic world, everything had to be destroyed, and it turned out pretty okay, if I say so myself. Shout out to Race. He also helped us out with this. We had some problems with some of the geometries, but I had dropped a message to Race and then installed it in Canada.
These are just some style frames for the first version of all the blocking and the cameras that we wanted to use. So very early on, these are actually meta humans, but these are not the photo scan meta humans, these are just the default ones. You can put them in place, pose them how you want, and actually get a pretty accurate storyboard. When we're used to sketching or even like photographing for storyboards, but we could actually put what was almost like a pre-alpha version of the film together just by modeling and posing things. And it also looks pretty good. We could even get some lighting references in just to see how moody and dark it would be. Actually, it looks a bit too bright now. But then one advantage of putting such a thing together was to be able to to be able to move into a region that we saw in the gut. Another amazing thing in Unreal Engine is the ability to use VCam. If you're not familiar, it's basically you can hook up an iPad that acts as your camera within the engine. So I could, as a DP, go in and then frame the shots exactly how I wanted. And to take it one step further, you can actually get supernatural camera movement and shake, because you can actually just hold the camera and you get super organic shake. So a lot of the camera moves you see in the film themselves are me doing the moves handheld, and all that shake adds really to the realism and to the film look. And beyond just getting the final pixel, it's very useful and very fun to just go around your world, see the world through like the lens, your iPad. And then, yeah, as I said, you can get something super detailed together. Just skip like slightly further in, and then turn on the volume. Strike. So it's super janky, but then the idea was to put together like a rough cut of the film, and we use all these like weird AI generated voices. But what it gave us is an idea of the pacing. I have to worry about. What it gave us is an idea of the pacing of the film, and we could also even pass this off to our like music composer to get started, because the structure of the film was there. You could almost say this is like a very rough version of the whole film, and you get an idea of what's about to happen. You can even get like the dialogue in place. And it's also useful for when your actors come in, because they know what they're supposed to do and how they can improve the scene. And this was all done within the first 4 weeks. And mind you, we weren't even going to shoot, we weren't even going to do it in full CG yet. This was supposed to be ICV effects. So all of this was done just to give everyone on the team an idea of what the film was exactly supposed to look like. And it was actually super low effort compared to what we've done in the past.
So in the middle of the project, we had gotten the opportunity to test our scene onto the LED volume. So you can see on the left side is one of our teammates standing in for the virtual actor inside here. So it looks, I think the volume is really cool to use, and it's really fun that we got the opportunity to use it. And here are some videos from that day itself. Yeah, the overall is really kind of cool to see, like to try to use the volume, because not all people get the opportunity to do so.
So we had to make a super tough decision. I mean, the volume is super cool, and we would have loved to film something in high CV effects. But the reality is that it takes a lot more. Even if you have the most talented team, it takes a lot of time and effort to troubleshoot a lot of things. And mind you, everything needs to run in real time on the wall behind for you to be able to film anything. So we're not Ubisoft, so we're not going to optimize our scene, right? So everything was running at like 12 FPS. And if we thought our audience could watch film at 12 FPS, we would have shot it that way. But then we saw what was happening, and we would have taken a mountain of effort and time to fix all of that. So we looked at other options. We decided the first thing was to see if it could be done in full CG. And then we realized actually doing it in full CG would help us realize our vision at a much higher production value, and also just help us use a lot of other features of Unreal Engine. It was just around the time that MetaHuman Animator had come out, so it was super exciting to be able to jump into a new avenue and pivot. And the only thing that made the pivot possible was we still could just stay in Unreal Engine. Our environment was about halfway there. So everything we needed, we would have done anyway for full CG. We had some of it already in place, and we literally decided to pivot at 9 PM, and at 10 PM we started working on full CG film. Timeline 2.0, of course. So instead of doing a full film in 10 weeks, we had to now execute a full CG film in 4 weeks.
Yep, so after we made the transition we had to make sure that we knew what we were getting ourselves into, such as MetaHuman Animator. But not a lot of documentation on that at that moment in time. Of course, now there's ton now, but the reality is that we could be much more creative in terms of like what we could execute because we didn't have to worry about the FPS drops or hiccups in the LED volume, and we could go crazy with some of the assets. We could go crazy with some of the effects that we wanted to do. So, as a result of that decision, we were making the environment much more detailed, and we could, so we could crank up the volumetrics. Of course, we know that kills the computer. We could go crazy with the assets, textures, 4K textures, 8K textures, or probably not so much 8K. But we also got to experiment something that's also really new to us, which is the XSense mocap suit. This is our first time. That's Aditya right there. He's trying out the mocap suit, trying to see how feasible it is to, we have to make it work, because otherwise we couldn't deliver. So that's just us testing the things a little bit. And we also tested a MetaHuman animator here as well. So that's my music playing in the background. But we were seeing like we weren't concerned about how to get the looks right. We wanted to get things working first. And that's like the bare minimum. And of course now you can see that there's a lot of jank here and there. But you will see, you've seen in the film, we made a lot of improvements in terms of lighting that really helped sell the realism of it. And we had scheduled the mocap day for the two actors, Jason and Shrey. The first thing that we did, we went there, we scanned the actors, because that's part of the MetaHuman animated pipeline. Took around 250 pictures. That's me just holding my phone with the with the ring light, and then we've got pretty. Okay. And we also had one day to do all the mocap, and we did all the takes in one take. So each.
We had scheduled a shoot with our very talented actors for the ICVFX anyway, because we were going to film it. We still booked them to do motion capture, which is very new to them as well, but they did a great job. So we had one day to run through all the scenes. Generally what I've heard is, you put on a suit, anybody could do like the motion capture for the body, and then you get the actors in to do maybe face capture separately. You put it all on a tripod and do a face capture. But because it's super dialogue heavy and it relies on their nuances and behavior and stuff, and it's like, wow. Focus. Oh gosh. Okay, new mic. So we decided to run basically everything, all the scenes with them together, so they could bounce off each other, and we would get the nuances in acting, and we even had an audio guy record at the same time. So all the takes that we took were synced up. So you can see they're wearing a mocap suit, the gloves to capture their fingers, and also they have like a super janky head rig to capture their facial expression all at the same time, so we could run. And what it helped us do, when we brought all of this data into Unreal Engine and they played together, it looked super smooth from the get-go. We didn't have to do any syncing, anything to make the different pieces gel together. But it really helped us to do this. And I would encourage anybody doing it to try and do it, like together, do everything together. It will help a lot later. This is one of the runs. I'm sure you can recognize this scene. One thing is that goddamn head rig shakes a lot, so you have to stabilize the footage to get something decent out of it. Another thing is we also blocked the space so that it resembles our scene in 3D, so that they would know, not to cross any section. We could get actually movement that are pretty cute and to scale to our space.
Right, so that's the resulting mesh that we got from the MetaHuman animator. Looks pretty good. I think we try to make it as close as possible to the actors, so that even for the actors, it's cool to see themselves inside the CG world. And I think that's something that's really important to them. And from here, we compiled all the performances. Really quick thing. It's just I believe it's the default No, this is from one of our test takes from the previous week. But then after that, it was really cool to see all of it combine together. Sorry for the lag. That's my personal computer. But yeah, it's really cool to see it come all together, and then like you're able to change things real time. You could even change this position to match the animation, and then to see like where at which frame the metahuman starts to grab the sticky note, and then do some cheap tricks here and there. And finally, after all that, we had a lot of EXR sequences, and then we were sending those to our color grader to color grade the final product. Right. That's not but I think that's the overall storyline. I just wanted to share with you some of the effects that we've done really quickly. First thing that we did was the light flicker effects. So what I did here is to change the light flicker intensity using a single code value, using material parameter collection. So that means that we don't have to change individual values, and then it's just an easy way to get it all synced up. I will share some cheap trick I did here. Used to use like QR code type of texture because it's a black and white value, and then you just pan that across the stepping so that it's either black or white, and then you can of course change it to be in a way where it's more black or more white. You just take that, and then at the end we just have a clamp value, so your minimum blackness is not completely black, but it's just dimmed. And of course you have the monitor texture at the end to overlay on top of it. I think the debris that we were doing here, we didn't add that, but this part over here, we made a rock spawner to use with the tape recorder. So we're just using a call-in editor function to spawn a specific number of rocks to collide with the environment that we have here, and then it's simple enough to just reverse the sequencers, just on right click and then play in reverse, and then that helped us figure out some of the debris problems that we had. And then from here, just play back. Yeah, this is one of the things where we figured it out like 5 a.m. in the morning, so it's a little bit janky. But here's a script that we have. You just select a random static mesh from the Pixel Mega scans, and then for the rock spawner, you just select the bounding box and then just spawn how many number of meshes that you want to spawn, with a random scale, random rotation to give a little bit of variation on top of that. Here, the face distortion, something it was kind of like hesitant to touch because it's like the default MetaHuman material, but we were still able to do that with a bunch of parameter collections at the end. We could control the amplitude, the intensity of the distortion by adding a distortion effect on top of whatever Epic Games Unreal Engine has provided us at the end. So this is, sorry, I forgot to put it down, but that's the MetaHuman skin shader, and we just added on top of that. And that's the distortion effect. We're just padding a texture with world position offset. One thing, just to the simple ones here, the rock textures, we wanted to make sure that like maybe the inside buildings were crumbling, so we just baked it in a way that where the rocks are just coming from the bottom to the top, because they'll never see the ceiling anyways, or at least in our shots, we never saw the ceilings. And other than that, there's other things as well. The sticky note, I think it's a nice touch because our film is called sticky note. Because they introduced neither caching in the 5.2, and we were able to reverse that pretty simply by just right-clicking the sim cache and assigning reverse. I think that is all for us.
These are the claps closing. I just want to say, I mean, it was super fun to do the project. By no means is the film perfect. But everything that we set out to do, we could do some version of it with Unreal Engine, and within Unreal Engine, we didn't really move on outside that much. And if 3 or 4 people can do that over 5 weeks effectively, then I think we can take it a lot further. And then the Unreal Engine team has been also great about providing a lot of updates. It's super exciting to see the space move very fast. So what doing a sci-fi film for both of us would have been out of reach before this project, but then seeing what we achieved in 5 weeks was super. It's good to know that you can do it. So anybody can do it. It's super easy to do. Not super easy. It's difficult, but it's achievable within the engine itself. And a lot of tools were reliable. If you work with software, software breaks, and you only fall in love with the software that you can basically bear with. And we like Unreal Engine. It broke a lot obviously on us, but then at the end it pulled through. It's like an old car, like an old SX4. But yeah, so thank you for your time. I hope you. Yeah, thank you. Both thanks.